Hi, welcome back. This is session 1, video number 3. I hope you have finished your learning activity number 1 and you have enjoyed the questions that I have posted for you. You have answered all the questions correctly, that means your level of understanding is 100%. Okay, and I am confident to move forward. Okay, so learning outcome for this video will be at the end of the lesson. You will be able to do what? Describe the composition of ERT. Describe the role and responsibilities of an emergency response team member, as well as to describe the coordination processes in implementing EPRP. So I would like to talk about combination of ERT. Okay, for all the workplaces, okay, almost all the workplaces, you have fire emergency. So what happened is that, okay, firefighter cannot run away, and in the event of fire, you also need to evacuate. So this evacuation team will be there. Sometimes it comprises of what? Fire warrant, etc. Hazmat team is more for chemicals. Okay, so if I have a lab, so I need hazmat team. Chemical spillage process plant, okay, this one cannot run away. First aid team also cannot ever run away, because why? In every workplace, okay, you might need a first aid team. So where to find? Okay, where to find? How many first aider do I need in my organization? Of employee, how many person? Okay, so where to find this information? You have to go to WSH first aid regulation to find out. Confined space regulation is confined space rescue team is very important. Why? Because what happens is that in construction industry, especially in construction industry, they need to enter into confined space where there's a lack of oxygen. And to make matter worse, if this is a sewer pipe, okay, a sewer manhole, there might be poisonous gas such as H2S or even methane gas that can be flammable. So if anything happen, okay, you need to rescue them, so you need to have a rescue team. Okay, work at height rescue team, okay, also in the construction industry, you can never run away as well. Why? Because a lot of people are working at height and they are required to wear safety harness. So if they wear safety harness, there's a risk that they'll fall and get themselves suspended at height. And what happens is that you need to rescue them. Okay, another place that I can think of, another facility that I can think of is actually Universal Studio. For example, we go there to enjoy the ride. And what happened if the mechanical fault is there's a mechanical fault, the whatever ride gets stuck in the middle? So what happened? You need to rescue them. Okay, so you might need to stand by a scissors lift, stand by a broom lift, etc. Okay, for these purposes. Infectious diseases response team, okay, might be possible as well, because in the event of SARS, what should you do, especially in the hospital? In the so-called big building, okay, they must measure temperature, etc. If in the event of flood, what must you do? Okay, so there might be a flood response team as well. Basically for dry dock, you might need them. So is that all? My answer is no. Okay, because it really depends on your emergency situation. Okay, so role and responsibility of an emergency team member. Okay, so to assess the emergency situation, hazard and risk, okay, they also need to manage and control the emergency situation, mobilize company resources to deal with the situation or to deal with the emergency situation. You might also need to perform rescue and evacuation procedures, do crowd control at evacuation assembly area, contain fire, chemical or biological agent, at the facility, that has potential release, do a roll count to account for all staff and personnel, render first aid, damage control. So these are some of the role and responsibility of an emergency team member. But does it mean that everyone have to carry this? No. Basically what happens is that for these three, I think SMC, okay, it should be the role and responsibility of the FNC. So this might be the role and responsibility of a rescue team members. Do crowd control at evacuation area. Okay, not evacuation area, sorry, the assembly area. Sometimes may be done by the security guard. Okay, so this will be done by who? Okay, will be done by the SIC and the response team member. Okay, and the response team member. So for chemical, there will be a hazmat team. Do a roll count to account for all staff or team members, okay, or personnel. So who should be doing this? I find that, okay, maybe the warrant, okay, the warrant can do that, and after ensuring that everyone left, okay. Render first aider, damage control the situation. Basically, it's the SIC. We have to do damage control to the situation. So let us move on. Stabilize emergency situation. So response team member, you need to stabilize the emergency situation. So you have to be the work of SMC, SIC as well as a response team member. Coordinate with external emergency response agency. Communicate and report within organization with external party. Address employee and public concern. Okay, for this case, can be very sensitive. Sometimes you need to have a PR, okay, a company spokesperson to address to the press, okay, or else press can, they can come up with different story, totally different story, okay, so that can be very damaging to the company image. Okay, you also need to safeguard security. By the way, in the event of a fire, okay, or any emergency situation where there's a need for you to evacuate, okay, so where should you go to? Everyone must go to assembly area, do a head count, right? Okay, do you allow the gate to be open so that everyone can leave? Okay, the answer is no. All gate has to be closed. Okay, why I say that? Because what happens is that think about there may be an event of sabotage. Okay, so the assembly area must be safe enough. Okay, must be safe enough. So it has to be far away from your building. Okay, so that everyone will be safe when they are at assembly area. Okay, so you also need to be trained for emergency preparedness and response plan. Okay, so okay, not plan, but emergency preparedness and response. So there are some courses, the SMC, SIC, the emergency response team member, they have to attend. Of course, you also need to maintain emergency response equipment. So who is the best person to maintain? Basically, I can find, or I can say that it should be the response team member lah, because you will be the one who use it. If you never maintain properly, okay, you're going to face the consequences. So under the SCDF cert manpower, basically you need to have a minimum of 6 person. Okay, 6 person. Okay, you need to have a SMC. Okay, he is overall in charge of the cert team, minimum 1. Okay, SIC minimum 1 as well. He's the leader of the response team, something like platoon commander lah. Okay, and these are your section commander. Okay, or your men. Okay, so response team, RT will directly involved in groundwork of emergency response, minimum 4, and you will report to who? You will report to this guy lah. Okay, so this guy also has to be at the site. And okay, so this will be some of the definition or some of the role and responsibility of different individual. So for SMC, basically he has to be a senior person of the company management. Why? Because he has to be overall in charge. He has to mobilize resources. He has to deal with the government official from SCDF or for whatever so-called agency. Okay. So during the incident, he shall do what? He must appreciate the situation, look at the situation, what happened, okay, how to mobilize resources, do I need to mobilize resources or not? And he has to manage the emergency scene, he has to do incident management, he has to lead information management during emergency. That means what happened is that every information must go to him, okay, and if you pertain to the press, okay, all information has to be through him, okay. So what happened is that, just take note, if there is any press coming to you to ask you, hey, so what do you think about this situation? What are the losses, etc.? If you say a word, I got no comment. Sorry, very bad. Don't ever say no comment to the press because they can interpret it differently. Okay, so always refer them to, sorry, I don't have much information. My company, they have a spokesperson, you may ask him. Okay, you may refer him or the press member or the to the so-called spokesperson. He also need to develop, okay, the SMC also need to develop contingency planning for high-risk installation, and he has to look at the overview of SCDF incident management system. That's why he need to undergo through certain courses. Okay, for the SIC, basically SIC is the leader of the cert. Okay, so he's the leader of the response team member, and he will do incident management at site. So he always has to be at the site. So for response team members, okay, there'll be a few. Okay, for this case will be firefighting response, hazmat response. Okay, they can also have falling from height. Okay, response or hanging. So-called suspended at height response. Okay, so you have many types of response team member. So I'm only talking about 2 here. Okay, so for firefighting response, okay, basically you need to have fire extinguisher, you need to have hose reel, you must know the safety precaution. For example, every hose reel there's a valve below. Okay, don't pull all the way or hose go all the way, all to the fire incident, and then after that when you try to open up the valve, sorry, no water, okay, because there's a main valve at the hose reel, okay, at the location of the hose reel. Okay, so you also need to perform basic first aid. Okay, you might need to do evacuation. So you might need to have a separate person to do evacuation, and you need to know how to use some of the basic firefighting equipment. For example, fire extinguisher. For example, maybe breathing apparatus. For hazmat response, of course, this guy they must be able to classify the hazardous material. So classify under what? So they need to look at the SDS, okay, safety data sheet, and primary hazardous associated with different hazardous materials. So all this information will be able to extract from where the SDS. So the hazmat response team member they must be very familiar, and they need to do mitigation and containment of the chemicals. So there are three basic response team member which need to undergo through certain courses. They are the first, of course, the firefighting response team member, hazmat response team member, as well as a first aider. Okay, next, I'm going to move on to how you identify appropriate response plan and equipment in accordance to your organization procedure. Of course, the first thing that you need to do is to know what are the emergency situation, and after that, you might need to come up with a response plan. So only when you come up with your response plan, um, you need to know what are the types of equipment that you need. Okay, so after identifying all the appropriate response plan for the emergency situation, you need to think about what are the actions that the that of the person, okay, that need to do. Okay, what are the actions that you need to do? So who are the person who discover the emergency situation. Normally we call them the first responder. Sometimes very complicated. This word first responder is very complicated. Okay, because some people define first responder as person who discover the emergency situation. Some of them will define as the person, okay, the ERT who go and respond, okay, to the emergency situation. That's why it's good to separate them out. Okay, for example, first responder awareness level, first responder operational level. So awareness level, I'm talking about this guard of people here, and if you're talking about response operational level, we are talking about the ERT. Okay, you must also think about, okay, management, supervisor, employee, what are they supposed to do? Human resource, public relationship personnel, what are the roles and responsibility that they need to play? Okay, for example, contract tracing might be done by HR. Dealt with the press, maybe the PR personnel, security and facility personnel. So what are they supposed to do? Okay, so for security personnel, normally it is good for them, to man the main gate, okay, so that to guide the emergency response vehicle to come into the actual scene, okay, and it can also do crowd control at the assembly area, okay, to ensure that the access for the emergency vehicle is not blocked, etc. And for facility personnel, maybe he will be a very good person, to do search and rescue. Why? Because he know the facility well. Okay, where are all the control panels, things like that. He will know. Don't forget, don't forget. You also need to think about visitor, guest, supplier, and contractor. Okay, because when they come to your organization, what are they supposed to do in the event of emergency? That's why sometimes when you go into certain site, okay, they need you to exchange pass. Okay, better exchange pass. Okay, so that in the event of emergency, your whereabout can be traced. Okay, you also need to, apart from the action from relevant parties, you also need to think about location, storage, and quantity of emergency equipment. Okay, for example, fire extinguisher, how many of them I need, where to keep them. Okay, first aid box, how many, where to keep them. Okay, and if my plant operate for 24 hours a day, is there any difference in action between normal and after working hours? Okay, so these are the things that you need to think about. Okay, and to continue on, if there's any hazardous material, okay, you need to have SDS, because from this SDS, they will be able to identify, what are the actions that I need to do in the event that I come into, I touch this chemical, okay, what are the things that I need to do, where to store this chemical. So all this information will be actually posted in the SDS. And where are the storage location? Okay, you cannot store them in general office. Cannot. Okay, there must be a proper place for them to store. Okay, depending on the requirements from the SDS or even check with NEA. What is the requirement? You see, you might need to have secondary containment as well to limit the damage. Okay, so in the event of a spillage, it will be contained by the secondary containment. And types of potential release of hazardous substances might include spillage, that means I spill them, okay, leak due to what? Due to maybe the tap, sorry, not the tap, but the cap is not tight enough, okay, there is a leakage, or because the bottle is containing the chemical is damaged, okay, it might lead to leakage. It can be also damaged by physical force, drop from vehicle, damage from forklift, etc. That's why if transportation, you very need to plan properly. Transportation, there's a certain risk there. Okay. The other dangerous occurrence might be vapor release. Okay, vapor release. This can be very dangerous because the vapor can actually cause explosion. Okay, if you are not careful. And what else? Okay, what else? What else? So I also need to consider and think about, okay, initial response to hazardous material release. Okay, so if there's hazardous material release, what is the initial response that I need to do? Okay, at least my hazmat team has to be there, and then he have to contain the chemical, he has to build up the spill kit, etc. So what are the actions to be taken during normal working hours and outside normal working hours? Because what happens is that your resources here will be much lesser. It's outside normal working hours, and yours in the event of any emergency situation, there must always be an investigation. Okay, always be an investigation. Why? Because I want to find out the root cause, and then I want to come up with my corrective action and preventive action after the emergency situation. Okay, so that's all for the video number 3. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. And now the next thing that you need to do is learning activity number 2, which is LMS quiz number 2. Okay, so these are practice questions to check your level of understanding. It may be MCQ, multiple answers, mix and match. Okay, by the way, you might need to Google search, okay, for some information. And please, I need you to declare that all work submitted for assessment in this subject will be of your own work and does not involve any plagiarism or teamwork. That means don't copy from one another, okay? Because we want to check your level of understanding, so it has to be of your own work. Okay, enjoy your learning activity number 2. Okay, I look forward talking to you in the next video. Okay, cheers.